Part 13. The Hierarchy of Light and the Hierarchy of Darkness. Centripetality and centrifugality of the universe. Conversation with Lucifer. One day, we will all remember that we are gods. After all knowledge resides within each of us. We need only believe and listen to it within ourselves. Listen to the God inside you. Tell me about the hierarchy of light and the hierarchy of darkness. Who created them and why? The universe operates according to certain laws. One of them is the law of attraction of like to like. Objects or parts of God with similar characteristics are drawn together. This can also be expressed differently. Objects or parts of God with similar characteristics manifest in a single intermediate reality. Intermediate reality? If you pour hot water into cold water, for a while, some of the water will remain cold, some will stay hot, and some will begin to mix. Heat exchange occurs, resulting in warm water. The cold and hot waters are two distinct realities, while the warm water is the intermediate reality where the characteristics of the water partially retain qualities of both cold and hot. An intermediate reality always exists around you. Everything that enters your field of perception is this intermediate reality, a merging of your reality with others. Are you saying that all objects and people around me are a merged reality? Not all. Some exist solely within your reality, but the majority of active objects are indeed part of a merged reality. You can observe how different objects affect you in different ways. Some are background objects, while others are active. Active objects are parts of merged realities. Who decides how these realities merge? Their creators. In this case, you and those who choose to interact with your reality. We were talking about the hierarchies of light and darkness. I remember. But to understand some things, you still have much to unravel. In the process of creation, various parts of God generate countless realities. These realities merge according to the law of attraction, yet they are not always absorbed. In the water analogy, cold water represents the hierarchy of darkness, hot water the hierarchy of light, and warm water their interaction, the merging. You exist within this reality, though not for long. Me or humanity, both you and all of humanity. At the dawn of your creation as light beings, you created chaotically. The images and worlds you fashioned were unstable, and so the merged realities were also unstable. Clear hierarchies could not form, they arose and dissolved repeatedly. When the mind was introduced into the system of creation, a mechanism for stable energy focus, the formed realities became more enduring. As a result, the connections between them solidified into various hierarchies. Then, by the law of attraction, they organized into systems with distinct properties of divine light and different ways of reflecting it. The hierarchy of light is a system of fusion and unity. The hierarchy of darkness is a path of separation. Separation or unification of what? Energy. Everything is energy. The hierarchy of light is built on the principle of absorption. Absorption, who absorbs whom? The greater absorbs the lesser. Recall centripetal and centrifugal forces. Mercury tends to merge into a single whole because only centrifugal forces act upon it relative to other mercury. Yet it does not merge with, say, water. The hierarchy of light is a hierarchy of centrifugal forces. If you choose the hierarchy of light, you choose to merge with Ito, dissolve into something greater than yourself, to become part of a larger whole. You submit to centripetal forces, the movement from the individual soul back to the source of all souls. But when a person incarnates, the opposite happens. Yes, incarnation is governed by centrifugal forces. Yet we are taught that birth and death are parts of a single process. Exactly. This is why the path of light and the path of darkness, centripetality and centrifugality, separation and unity cannot be divided or opposed. They are a single process of life. I see. Is the fall and expulsion from paradise the choice of centrifugal forces? Is that why it's called sin? Your legends often stray far from the truth, at least in their interpretations. Wait, but why did this happen? If all similar creations merge by the law of attraction, how did these two process centrifugality and centripetality, light and darkness, unite through the birth and death of humans and all earthly beings? The law of attraction is the manifestation of centripetal forces. Remember, God, as the potential of all things, under an unknown impulse, began unfolding into all existence through centrifugal forces. The impulse from within God set in motion the formation and expansion of billions of his parts. Had this impulse, this centrifugal force, acted alone, God would have eventually scattered into fragments. But he simply expands because another force exists, centripetality, which prevents God from flying apart. How is that possible? Where could God's parts scatter if all that exists every possible space is God himself? If imagined in linear terms, it's impossible. Both forces act simultaneously. Infinitely expanding, God simultaneously contracts infinitely. This generates the endless impulse of creative energy, the birth and death of all things. You said that after death, a person enters other realities they've created. Is that the work of centripetal forces? No, it's the work of centrifugal forces acting upon and within you. But it's also the interplay of both forces relative to the cosmos. Your entire existence is a balance of centrifugal and centripetal forces. In this sense, your being is shaped by the forces of light and darkness, their hierarchies. Why don't angels incarnate as humans? Or do they? Angels are qualities of God, his emotions. I speak of the dominant energetic composition within them. You could become an angel if you draw near enough to God and cultivate a divine quality not yet manifest among them. Are you saying angels aspire to become angels? That they were once something else? All are parts of God energy, as is God himself. Unmanifest potential. Created parts allow God to express himself in varied forms. Some chose not to distance themselves, embracing centrifugal forces unity with God. They renounced choice itself, surrendering to God's will. But how could they develop divine qualities without choice? You're an angel too, do you not have choice? I differ from other angels in that I place the right to choose at the foundation of your world. To nurture God's quality of curiosity, choice is essential. But angels embodying love, trust, or compassion need no choice. What is there to choose? How to love? How to pity? Remember, I speak of energy. Love as energy. Compassion as energy. Curiosity as energy. What is the energy of curiosity? It is governed primarily by centrifugal forces, its permeating nature, eternally seeking new points of contact. But so do water, air, and sunlight. Yes, your entire world is built on this energy. Our world is built on the energy of curiosity. Don't reduce it to a word. I use it for context. Yet, If you study human history, you'll see curiosity as its driving force. What about the lust for power? The same energy. The desire to know what power is. Do bees feel curiosity? Ants? The earth? If they're part of our world, then yes. Yes, but to varying degrees. In humans, it's stronger. If you equate curiosity with the human mind, that's merely one expression, the brain's ability to focus this energy into stability. Animals are curious too. Yes. The urge to explore, to perceive anew, is this energy's manifestation. So the hierarchy of light is a hierarchy of absorption. Does that mean consuming others is the path of light? Only if chosen. If you consciously choose dissolution into something greater, that's centripetality. Unwilling consumption is different, that's centrifugality. Wait, I'm confused. If entities absorb my emotions or subtle body without consent, what is that? What is voluntary absorption? Consider. If you love someone, you willingly give them energy. Do they absorb it? In a sense, yes, but with your consent. If you seek union with higher forces to dissolve into a divine state, you are absorbed by a vaster entity. This happens by your choice. Recall your tale of the Little Mermaid. She agreed that if the prince didn't love her, she'd become sea foam. Strange example. Are you saying that if someone is given terms to receive, you must give or dissolve? That's the path of light. It's centripetality. You conflate morality with energetics. Is eating food or absorbing sunlight the path of light? It's absorption centripetality. If you give part of yourself to be absorbed, that's centrifugality. This seems absurd. If the hierarchy of light operates on centripetal forces, absorption, does that mean its parts don't give love but take ours? So giving is the path of darkness. You're dividing and moralizing, good versus bad. This is a unified process of God's existence. Centrifugality and centripetality. To give is to receive is to give. Without this, existence is impossible. If you give without receiving, you'll cease to be you'll give all of yourself. If you receive without giving, you'll rupture your form's boundaries, will shatter. In both cases, you return to your prior creator. To exist as a distinct former part of God, yet separate, you must balance giving and receiving. This is the equilibrium you're always taught, the balance of energies, of centripetal and centrifugal forces. The cosmos is built this way. You receive God's energy, transform it for life, growth and creation, then return it, altered, making room for new energy. Without release, there's no renewal. Hoarding is meaningless and dangerous to your autonomy as a divine form. Then what is the hierarchy of darkness? What is darkness? A collective of beings who've chosen centrifugality expansion? Separation. This isn't good or evil. They still use centripetal forces, but less so. In their centrifugal motion, they grow denser, distancing themselves from the source. This separation can become so vast that they barely feel their connection to Godor, don't feel it at all. Unaware of their link to infinite God, they amass resources, hoping to sustain themselves when depleted. Conversely, the hierarchy of light thrives on centripetality fusion. They remain tied to God as an endless wellspring, needing no hoards. Their transformed energy is inexhaustible, like God himself. Hence, they share it freely. But contact with their energy stirs a desire to merge for. Centripetal forces dominate it. And humans? Like all creations, humans choose between these forces, these paths. Are you saying that without darkness, centrifugality, the universe and God wouldn't expand? If all chose centripetality, would God collapse back into potential? Then what? A new unfolding. This is the light's aim, gathering all potentials for a fresh expansion, a new divine impulse. Is this the inversion some speak of? Yes, you could call it that. Then why do the dark resist? Fear. Separation breeds insecurity. They harbour myths of a devourer that consumes them, their vision of merging with God. They also dread losing individuality. Surely they have their own purpose. Infinite expansion and individuation each, part becoming a sovereign entity, spawning its own potentials. So the idea that we are gods who can create with our potential comes from the dark. This essence belongs to all parts of God. Methods differ. You can illuminate existence with the full might of divine light or with a narrow beam, using only your potential. The former reveals vastness without detail. The latter, precision without scope.